Subscribe to the Mystic Vibrations Shock of the Hour program today and never miss another episode. The Shock of the Hour is a Radio Anu exclusive program produced every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. By now, I am sure that you are aware that all our programs are packed with information, inspiration, mystic vibrations, as well as hot button topics. Every evening we enter into a different dimension, even if it is a part 2 of the previous program, whether it's history or mystery, biology or philosophy, domestic affairs or the locks of your hair. The mystic vibration is sure to bring something new and interesting to the table every evening. So never miss another episode again. Subscribe to the Shock of the Hour now. And don't forget your Kiswahili word of the day and your daily scientific fact. So, to subscribe, give us an email, priestisaac27@gmail.com, or call or WhatsApp us today. Area code 1268-728-3162. The Shock of the Hour. Never miss another program. And a special note to all our new subscribers. All our new subscribers will receive a special copy of the DVD documentary, full length, The Night of the Black Tiger, The Divinity of Marcus Messiah God.
So the Ethiopian government has put a stop to foreigners adopting Ethiopian children. And when I read this particular headline, I was like, yes, the Ethiopian government doing a very good thing. Now, the Ethiopian government did this because Ethiopian children was being adopted and things was happening to them. They were being murdered. They were being involved with human trafficking. And the majority of the Ethiopian children were coming to the United States of America with Caucasian families. Now, I want to give you an example of a story that 2 Ethiopian children was adopted by a Caucasian couple, and the little girl was starved to death and abused. The little boy abused as well, but their 7 white children, they didn't do any of that to them. Let's go ahead.
Yes, blessed love, do give thanks to the life giver and the keeper of life. Welcome to the Shock of the Hour. We have now stepped into such a zone. And this evening we'll be definitely going into the whole aspect of the Ethiopian adoption. And I mean, this is a subject area that I think, would draw interest, and I think is extremely important even at this moment and even at this time. But before we go into the depths of that, give thanks for your presence with us. Of course, the universal flavor, the international spice, Radio Anu as it is. And the Honorable Princess Acacia Menin is with us, and she will be definitely bringing forward the Kiswahili word of the day. And of course, the Kiswahili word of the day for previous day yesterday was Simama, which means to stop. But we didn't stop at all, so we're going to continue, and let me say a very blessed and pleasant, evening to the Honorable Princess Acacia Menin. Honorable, blessed love.
Blessed love, Jambo, good day to everyone. Today's Kiswahili word of the day is Hapana Asante, which means no thank you. You have already heard of the Kiswahili word Asante, that means thank you. Hapana in Swahili means no. Today, I am going to give you a phrase to add to your vocabulary. It's called Hapana Asante. I'm going to use it in 4 sentences. Hapana asante mama wangu. No thanks my mother. Hapana asante baba wangu. No thanks my father. Hapana asante ndungu wangu. No thanks my brother. Hapana asante dada yangu. No thanks my sister. Well, that's all for the Kiswahili word of the day. Kwaheri, tutaonana tena.
Yes, we definitely give thanks, Asante Sana to the Honorable Princess.
Aribu.
Okay, and that of course is thank you and you're welcome in the specific Kiswahili language. Now, as I said this evening, I want to go into the whole aspect of the Ethiopian adoption, as I said. And this is very important, my brothers and sisters, to get into the whole realms of this. Because, as you know, in the previous program that we did, we were talking about the Ethiopian Jews and their kidnapping incident that took place, sending them into the Jewish land, the Israeli country, Palestine, so-called Israel, to really become indentured servants. That's really what the whole thing became. So we're still keeping on the Ethiopian topic and the Ethiopian experience. But this evening we're going to be talking about the whole aspect of adoption of Ethiopian and African children in general. And this is something that most people are not aware of, most people are not concerned as it relates to this. And I just decided for a few programs we're going to take some time to address certain situations that some people really are not even aware, that is, these things are taking place around them. So I want to begin to go into this is a clip literally coming from CNN, and it'll be going into the whole aspect of the young princess, the Ethiopian princess as she was called, Princess Hannah. And when it was discovered, the atrocities, man, that they put upon Princess Hannah, and this was done to her by her adopted parents, the sort of atrocities that came down upon her, it is after that all of these other instances or incidents, really arose to show like what was really taking place in the society in general, with all of these children that were kidnapped from Africa, or well, adopted really, and abused and murdered, and well, from you say murdered, you really cross the line. I mean, there's nothing else beyond that, but abused and starved and severely punished until, as I said, they've been murdered really. And sometimes people just get away with this. It's like nothing for them, and it's deeper than what appears on the surface. So this is what we want to do this evening. We want to go a little deeper than what appears on the surface to see exactly why this practice is kept up. A lot of Hollywood movie stars, from Madonna to some of the other ones, I think Brad Pitt, if I'm not mistaken, what's her name, Angela Jolie or whatever, I don't have the name correct, but I'm not ashamed of that at all. Adopting these children from Kenya and Uganda and Ethiopia, and raising them as their own. And we're not even aware of what is really taking place. We forget that there's a world of sacrifice. There's a world that believes a lot in virgin blood. Yeah, there's a world that believes in a lot of freaky vibes, and we just overlook this and think that, oh, God bless these movie stars' heart. How sweet thou art. Taking these young black people out of the misery that they're going through in Africa and East Africa and the Horn of Africa and all of the fighting, and it's so good that they have a home now in the US, etc., and you're praised. And yet still a few years after you find out that a little child has been severely abused to the point of even death. But anyway, let's get into this short CNN report, and we'll take it from there, start the ball rolling.
Larry Williams is the husband, Carrie Williams the wife. Together they were parents of 8, but now it's 7. The daughter they adopted from Ethiopia is dead, and if the allegations are true, some say they are the parents from hell.
Ms. Williams, can I just ask you, did you love this child? Can you just answer that question, if you love this child?
The question is, did Hannah die in the name of God? The Williams lived in a large piece of secluded land in Skagit County, Washington. According to a sheriff's office affidavit, the mother told investigators she found 13-year-old Hannah face down outside that house with mud in her mouth and not breathing. But there is so very much she left out.
The date of her death was not the first day she'd been struck.
Here is what the affidavit says.
Now, before you even go into the affidavit, so she was found outside, face down, in the mud, and blood coming out of her mouth, and yet still there's a lot that has been left out.
Hannah had a large lump on her head and several fresh red bloody markings on her hips, knees, elbows, and face. And when doctors performed Hannah's autopsy, they declared the 13-year-old was abnormally thin. On the forehead was a hematoma, swollen bruise. There were abrasions on the right and left upper pelvis area. There were patterned contusions on the legs. Prosecutors are investigating whether those beatings came because of biblical teachings. The other children who implicate their parents in the affidavit told investigators Hannah was often left outside in the cold as discipline because she was rebellious.
Now, before we go too far, listen to what the news reporter said. Prosecutors are investigating if these beatings or the behavior, this punishment of some sort, came from biblical teachings. Biblical teachings. Now, why would he think that? Interesting. Let's see.
And it was so weakened from the discipline, hours of rain in the bone-chilling cold was more than she could take, according to authorities. But listen to the initial 911 call from the mother to police. Look who she blames for her child's death.
What was your emergency?
Yes, I think my daughter killed herself.
No, that is this is the official 911 call, the emergency call that Hannah's stepmother made when basically reporting Hannah dead, and she told the operator at the 911 call center that seemed like somebody killed her daughter. Who would do a thing like that?
Why do you say that?
Why do you say that?
She's really rebellious, and she's been outside.
No, what am I saying? No, what am I saying? Not somebody killed her daughter. Her daughter killed herself. Imagine that. Her daughter killed herself. She was really rebellious, and she's been outside refusing to come in, and she's been throwing herself all around, and then she collapsed.
Refusing to come in, and she's been throwing herself all around, and then she collapsed.
If you didn't stand exactly where you were supposed to stand, that would be considered rebellious, and you could be punished for that.
In the affidavit, Hannah's 9-year-old brother told detectives that people like his dead sister got spankings for lying and going to the fires of hell. Detectives say Larry Williams made his son stop talking to authorities after that. We met Larry Williams with his attorney in court during a motion hearing.
Mr. Williams, can you tell us what happened to your daughter? What do you think God thinks about this case, sir?
Among the evidence found in the house, a variety of books and videotapes by well-known fundamentalist Christian authors Michael and Debbie Pearl, including a book called
To Train Up a Child.
Yes.
To Train Up a Child is a best-selling book which advocates corporal punishment of children from infant on up. The authors of the book say the writings are guided by the teachings in the Bible.
It says that if you spare the rod, you hate your child. But if you love him, you chasten him time.
I interviewed the Pearls this past summer because of a chillingly similar case. Kevin and Elizabeth Schatz are now in prison after pleading guilty to killing their daughter Lydia, also adopted from Africa. Taken from their home as evidence to train up a child.
Okay, hold on. So Kevin and Lydia Schatz now. they also adopted a child from Africa who basically went through the same fate. And this book, How to Train Up a Child, has been found in their possession as well, as was the book, same How to Train Up a Child, found in the possession of the Williams, that is Hannah's step parents. And you got to be careful, you know, not because you hear the report saying her brother said and her brother said. It's not really her brother, you know. It is the child. In some cases, when you hear their brothers and sisters, is the children of their adopted so-called parents. This ain't no parent-child relationship. This is kidnapper and the kidnapped. That's all what it is. That's why we began with the whole report of the Ethiopian government stepping in now to ban the adoption of their children by foreigners, because it's obvious, as I said, a lot of us not even aware, a lot of us not even looking into these instances where you have children being adopted from the motherland, brought into the Western world to be abused, to be beaten, to be murdered. And you ask yourself, well, why is this being done? And we are finding in the possession of many of these killers manuscripts, a specific book at that, explaining how to train up a child. That's the name of the book. Stressing corporal punishment. And the authors of the book now, the husband and wife team, one looked like a rusty old hillbilly, and his wife looked like a mixture between a Japanese and a Native American Indian. And you may think I'm mocking them, but trust me, I ain't pleased at all. I don't even care what I say about them there. I'm not pleased at all. You need to listen to the whole interview. Let's get a little bit more of this.
Mike Ramsey is the DA who prosecuted the Schatzes.
What do you think influenced the Schatzes to beat, terrorize, and torment the children?
The book by Mr. Pearl.
See, the book by Mr. Pearl. He just make it clear one time. He have no doubt that it is this book that encouraged the shots to take out their adopted daughter.
Their home as evidence to train up a child. Mike Ramsey is the DA who prosecuted the Schatzes.
What do you think influenced the Schatzes to beat, terrorize, and torment the children?
The book by Mr. Pearl. There's no doubt about that.
Let's say a 7-year-old slugs his sister.
You explain to him that what he's done is violent and that that's not acceptable in society and it's not acceptable in our home. Then I would take him somewhere like into his bedroom and I would tell him I'm going to give him 15 licks.
With what?
Probably a belt. A kid that big, a boy, I'd probably use the belt. It'd be handy. I might use a wooden spoon or a piece of like plumbing supply line.
A plumbing supply line. One of the pieces of evidence Larry Williams gave to sheriff's deputies in Washington State after authorities said he acknowledged he and his wife used it to strike their children.
Mrs. Williams, do you like the book To Train Up a Child?
We have no comments.
Okay. Could you tell us what happened to your daughter, though? Do you still say that she killed herself?
Not,
Excuse me, sir?
no comment today.
Larry and Carrie Williams are out on bond. They have pled not guilty. They've been ordered not to talk to their surviving children, who are now in foster homes.
I don't use the term hitting.
Wait, what's the word?
Spanking.
Prosecutors say they have no plans to pursue charges against Michael and Debbie Pearl. When I talked to the authors about the death of Lydia Schatz in California, they said their book rejects parents losing control and acting out of anger.
So you're not accepting any blame?
Absolutely not.
And it's the same sentiment they have regarding the death of Hannah Williams in Washington. The Pearls released a statement on their Facebook page, which says, "We share in the sadness over the tragic death of Hannah Williams. What her parents did is diametrically opposed to what is taught in the book To Train Up a Child." And it continues in part, The alleged presence of the book makes it no more responsible for Hannah's death than the presence of a weight loss book in the home of an overweight person is responsible for their obesity. Larry and Kerry Williams are charged with homicide by abuse and felony assault of one of their other children. The prosecution is just beginning to methodically go through the evidence, and that includes reading To Train Up a Child cover to cover. Gary Tuckman's.
Okay, well, now obviously, this is a few years ago. Not that long. Hannah Williams died 2011. That's about 6 years ago, 7 years ago now we're talking about. 7 years ago. You understand? Now obviously, Mr. Pearl is not going to take any blame. Why I described him like that? I mean, that's how he looks, man. Like them hillbilly white supremacist looking person. And an individual may say, well, he didn't write his book to really, go against black people. I mean, I'm taking it from all angles. What I'm saying, first of all, he's saying that he don't like to use the word hitting. Talk about semantics. He prefers spanking. I don't know how they do it in the hills up there. But when we say spanking, we mean spanking. You know what I mean? Like spanking. Spanking doesn't entail anything but your hand. And it's not no hard hit. It's a spank. You get me? So now he's saying that he's going to tell the child, I'm going to give you 15 lashes with either a belt, some wooden object, a wooden spoon, or the plumbing pipe. And remember, these same the plumbing line, pardon me, was discovered in the home of some of the murderers that murdered their adopted children with the book. I mean, the evidence is clear. The book is in the home of the killers. Plus the tools, the weapons that have been used to beat down the innocent children were also found in the homes of the killers. And these killers are religious Christians, Yeah, they attend church and all of this kind of stuff. But I'm trying to show you now that this is more than just religion, That is why we brought in the whole aspect of the movie stars as well.
Tonight at 360 Follow on a story we first called Ungodly Discipline. Kids beaten, sometimes killed because the adults say they're following the word of God. I told you about Lydia Schatz, who was just 7 when she was beaten to death. Her parents were convicted, sent to prison. The Schatzes believed God wanted them to spank Lydia so hard that it hurt. It's an approach to discipline that many fundamentalists embrace. There's even a training manual that's claimed to have sold more than 1 million copies. What's unclear is how many kids whose parents followed the book's advice have actually been killed. Tonight, the book is at the center of another homicide case, this time in Washington State. Bears striking similarities to the Lydia Schatz case. Here's Gary Tucker. Gary joins us now. How are the other Williams kids doing? Do we know?
The other 7 kids, Anderson, are doing fine. They are all in foster homes. One of the children just became 18 years old, so it's not clear if he's going to leave the foster home and go on his own. He can if he wants to, but they have been ordered, the parents, not to talk to any of these 7 kids for 2 reasons. 1, to protect the children from harm, and 2, because it's very likely that some or all of these children will testify against their parents, and they do not want the parents trying to influence their children's testimony.
It's so insidious, the idea of kids being abused in the name of God. It seems like we've done a number of these stories now in different parts of the country. How big a problem do you think this really is?
It's a big problem. We've talked to DAs from coast to coast, district attorneys, and they're telling us that it's very common. That being said, polls show that most Americans do support spanking their children, but most Americans don't bloody their children, don't pummel their children, don't seriously hurt their children. It does say in the Bible not to spare the rod, but it doesn't say you should humiliate your children. It just doesn't say you should bloody them. It doesn't say you should humiliate them, and that's something to keep in mind.
Where are Larry and Kerry Williams staying?
Well, this is very interesting. They can't be together because they don't want them to talk about their testimony. So Kerry Williams the wife, is staying in her parents' house. Larry Williams is staying in the house where his whole family was, where his daughter died. It's very interesting because many of the neighbors there, none of them wanted to go on camera because they're scared, but they are very, to be, and put in a word, very creeped out that he's staying in the house and mowing the lawn, and they have children in that neighborhood, and they know what he's alleged to have done. They're very scared of it.
All right. Now, obviously, as I said, that's obviously a CNN report, and that is, what's his name there? Anderson Cooper. Now, you see, this is why it's important. That's why we do news briefing and commentary as well, you know, because give thanks to that report. Yes, give thanks. It's good that we could have, you know, heard that report so we get a better understanding of what is taking place. Now, let me just follow it good on this level here. When you observe, for example, what they just said, even the neighbors are afraid to have their little children running around. More than likely it's a white neighborhood, you know. They don't need to be afraid of a thing, you know, man. I think people are not really grasping the fullness of what is taking place here. Now, when we did the program yesterday and we were talking about the Ethiopian Jews, we actually analyzed it in a way that you don't hear this analysis in other circles. Yes, the Ethiopian Jews were taken up, Operation Moses, Operation Solomon. Yes, they were taken to Israeli country, the Jewish country, and now they're indentured servants. They're the ones working in the hotels if they can. They're the ones sweeping the gutter. They're the ones cleaning the sewage. 2% of the people in Israel, but yet still the 20% of the juveniles are in prison. You follow it? This is the Ethiopian Jews. So what we highlighted is that this wasn't by mistake. Although you would hear, and we're going to touch the subject again, although you would hear some of the Israeli people say, you know, send them back to Ethiopia and we don't want them around here. And all of that is, you know, part of the fluff. But they need them there. They need the black population around them all the time. It's just a must. As we mentioned previous night, when you check slavery, as they call it, why did they come for us in the motherland? They had a plan, and the Indian man just couldn't get the job done. So they said, no man, let's go and get some Negroes. And they did what they had to do, you know. When they came into Africa as well and they began their colonializing trip, they utilized the people that were there already. Of course, you know, the brainwashing scheme had to come in, and the false educational system, and over generations upon generations of beating and lynching and mayhem and killing and all these things, raping and looting and polluting. You know, they would get a few black people to become serfdom as such, to become serfs for them. You know, subservient, and come and say, yes, master, you want me to clean the window today? Yeah. So they delight in that. That's what they want. So anywhere they go and conquer, and we're not there, they believe that it's a must to come for us. You understand? That's what I'm trying to show. I don't want this to get over the people's head. Wherever they conquer, even if they conquer the moon, right? Even if they conquer the moon and they say, man, no Negroes up here, you know, they're going to come for us one way or the other. So it may not appear as vicious as the transatlantic slave trade, but it's the same thing. So the Ethiopians running from war, they need a place to go, it seems. They're lost in Sudan in the desert. Let's go and help them. They're our Jewish brothers and sisters. Let's bring them over to Jewish land. But we're not going to make them equal citizens. We may say that, but we're going to put them at the bottom, just like we always do. You know, that's previous night's program. No, but what I'm saying tonight now is a different thing. You see, these children, you have vulnerable children, that's number one. These are the reason why there's so many Ethiopian children that were up for adoption, and even in Africa. Why do you think so? Because they're orphans. Many of them are orphans. They have no parents. The parents either died of some sort of disease, whether it be Ebola, whether it be AIDS, or malaria, some sort of disease that was introduced into the area by some of these organizations that we have so much respect for through vaccines and medicines and all other things. AIDS ain't no blue monkey nothing. Out of laboratories in Maryland, AIDS came from. We've done programs and highlighted this before. So that's a part of the war. It ain't no mistake. It's a war. This ain't no joke. This is a war happening. The sun just set and it's going to rise tomorrow. Nothing changed. We are in the middle of a war right now, the 21st day of August 2018. Give thanks to Nat Turner. Yeah. So I'm trying to show us now, and everyone that of course is with us, that these is easy to, you have a few dollars, it's easy to go to Africa and pick up a baby. It ain't too hard. And some of these African countries, they're not even considering, the brain drain, the wealth, the resources that they're just releasing to the rest of the world. That is why the Ethiopians now, according to what the advice show was saying, the Ethiopians now decided that, hey, we can't be giving our children away to these people anymore. Number one, these are our future. And number two, these killers are murdering our babies. Because obviously news has spread all over the world that they have, in the same way that the Catholic cardinals, bishops, and whatever else they have are now, the whole sexual abuse of these young boys is raising its ugly head. Not now, for a while now. It's the same way that the abuse of the young African children, orphans and other ones that have been adopted, because they're not all orphans. Some of them, their parents just gave them up. They have many cases of that where parents just give them up and drop them at the orphanage when they were born. Just come out of the womb in 2-3 days, they wrap them up in swaddling clothes and put them in front of in front of the adoption agency. Rap on the door and run away. These things don't happen. It happens every day. I'm sure it's going on as I'm speaking now. Because of the war-torn environment, and I don't like to make Africa look doom and gloom, but we need to get to reality. That's the point. Some of us, we like to say that, everything they show us in Africa is people starving and hungry. Africa is a beautiful. It is true. I agree that. I really do. But to be honest, I don't think we even know 1/10 of what's really happening to our people that we love so much in the motherland. Them Africans, they don't care about you. So what? They're just as brainwashed as you. But I love them. So what if they don't care about us? That means we not supposed to love them? And then that's a part of the serious propaganda. They've been brain scrubbed. We've been brain scrubbed. They've been brain scrubbed about us and vice versa and in and out. And it really takes a conscious mind to get out of all of that foolish thought and say, man, them is our brothers over there. And our brothers over there, no matter what suffering you see some of us going through over here. Our brothers, our little children over there, little babies over there, going through hell over there because of a colonialistic system, a well-oiled colonialistic machine that has been put into place now for several hundred of years. All the same looting and raping and robbing and the exploitation of the resources of our country, from the chocolate to the diamond. We can't forget none of them things here. We must understand why when Patrice Lumumba come to power, they take him out right away. What's his name? Samoa Michel. They don't play around. They move them. Thomas Sankara, he did too long plus. He holding the wealth of his country for his people, and he really Africanizing his people. Maurice Bishop. There's a reason why these killers have on their agenda to remove anybody that appears as if they're bringing light to their people, especially, it may seem funny, not just religion, especially on a geopolitical level, where you are the leader of the country and you have a real say, and you're saying Robert Mugabe, Idi Amin, and you're talking about economic warfare, and you want the resources to stay in your land. Who is you? We don't play around with them kind of Negroes there. They need to move so we can put one of our puppets there. You understand? And that's the reality of it. So I'm saying all of that now. That's one level. And for you to understand how all these young Ethiopian little girls and boys end up in the hands of mega superstars like Madonna, you have to understand what's going on the ground in the motherland. Now let's just take Madonna and the other movie stars before we come down to the regular people like the Pearls and the Williams and the Shots. They need some shots for you. People like Madonna now, I'll call the names, and whoever else, who's the other people I call? Who's the woman that act Tigress in the Kung Fu thing?
Angela.
Yeah, exactly. I think she adopted one. She's Brad Pitt's wife. I don't even know how it goes. I don't care about that soap opera. But what I know, remember we're dealing with Hollywood. Hollywood. When you're dealing with Hollywood, when you're dealing with the entertainment business, I think by now, a few years ago, everything was the Illuminati. Everything was, oh, look at Jay-Z and the sign and the One Eye and Beyonce. I mean, a few years ago, oh, play Michael Jackson music back way and put it on the record thing and spin it back way, and Hotel California and all the movie stars from Jamie Foxx all the way down to, what's Malcolm X's name there? I can't remember all of their names, but Malcolm X, the man that played Malcolm X, the movie, that was a little bit before your time there, but Denzel Washington, and we talk about all our heroes within the entertainment business, even down to some of the sport heroes, and many of us consider them members of the craft, members of the Illuminati. Look at the ring they have on, look at the chain, and all of them had a sacrifice in their life. If it wasn't their mother died, like Jennifer Hudson and what's the other fella named there, Kanye West. I remember when their parents died, or whoever it was for them that died, everybody was saying that was the sacrifice that they had to make. Apparently, when you reach a certain stage in the entertainment business, and in the movie business, and the sitcom business, and the music business, apparently somebody has to be killed. That's what they say. I think Michael Jordan's father died. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but there's some connection with Michael Jordan and Father's Day. I think they won the championship on Father's Day. The first championship he won after his father died. His father was very close to him. Now I'm not going to put into the realm something that is not true, but I mean it is very eye-opening to see all of these coincidences of people rising, not just in the black community, any community, and someone very, very close to them taken away just before they reach that peak of stardom, and it goes along with the narrative of sacrifice. They would carry it all down to biblical aspects of, God's sacrificing his son, and you have to put a sacrificial lamb, and Abraham almost slitting Isaac's throat as a sacrifice to please the gods. That's what they lie and tell us the Mayans were doing, ripping out people's heart. Well, maybe the modern day Mayans, but the glyphs that we drew on the wall wasn't necessarily that, but the concept of sacrifice always existed. All right. So when you watch some of the old slave movies, follow me good, man. I coming back to Hannah, and was the other girl they killed, Leah. I coming back to all of this and all the Africans that they've murdered through adoption is a point I'm getting to. That's when you watch some of these movies now, that slavery movie, what they call it, Uncle Sam Cabin, not Uncle Sam, what other uncle name? Uncle Tom's Cabin. And in Uncle Tom's Cabin and in some of these old slave drawings you would see, slavery period drawings, pardon me, you would see the white slave master with the young little boy on the floor, and the slave master doesn't have on any shoes. He takes off his socks and his shoes, so you can imagine how that smells. And he has the sole of his feet on the belly of the little African baby, taking in the energy, because the sole of your feet is powerful. That's why we did a program dealing with the barefoot, the bare feet, walking on the ground, what they call it, grounding, and the connection from the earth, through you, and how powerful it is on the physical aspect, yet still as well on the spiritual aspect, the whole aspect of grounding yourself to the planet, grounding yourself to the earth, connecting yourself, walking without shoes, not on the highway, not on the byway, not on the asphalt, on the dirt, on the sand, in the mud. The whole aspect of grounding is very, very important, So I'm just saying that, because we go deep here. So when you see these pictures, when you watch the movie and you see the slave master take off his shoes, now he's sick, He have some sort of fever, he have some sort of ailment, and he called for a young virgin girl. Listen to me good. This is our history. When the slave master is sick, even the slave mama, when they're sick, sometimes they call for the bush doctor, the herbalist, but sometimes they call for a young little African innocent boy or young little African innocent princess. Virgins they want. And when they come, they tell them, strip them of their clothes. So the little boy take off all his clothes, or the little girl take off all her clothes. And in many cases, they put them on the ground. And the slave master, in his bare feet, or his wolf feet, whichever animal you want to choose, he put his wolf feet, on bare feet, on the little child. Now, people will tell you, obviously, that is because of the purity of the child. Remember in fairy tale, folly days, and nursery rhymes, what did we tell you about the child? This is why you don't call children kids. You don't call them little goats. We showed you that the child represents the chi.
You do not want your children to turn into kids.
It's the combined force of your chakra. The chi is an energy force that a child emits. The purity, the innocence of a child. You know what I mean? Some of us, we telling some of them old sinners talking about, pray for me, pray for me. It's better you ask a child to pray for you. I prefer ask my little children, hey, say pray for me, Trust me. Because I know their innocence is deep. At least for now, how you still innocent, boss? Not that they becoming guilty, but obviously when you grow more into the earth, the world that we live in, you start to adapt to different things. It's just reality, nothing wrong. But I'm just showing you a child really, there's a certain level of innocence, purity within a child. That's just the fact, So the children are chi. The children have this purity about them.
CHI in the word children shows you the true nature of a child. The children are chi. They carry that chi energy.
Give that. So it's more than just sucking the fever from the sick slave cracker. It's about putting life now into him. There are people that don't like me saying that, People comment on me saying that, especially around my children. Oh, you still keeping up racism. What kind of racism am I keeping up? What's wrong with you? Don't let me get started on that now, What racism am I keeping up? What are you talking about? What did I say? The cracker, who was I talking about? I just took time to explain who I talking about, man. I know exactly who I talking of, man. So don't try to make me look like who I'm not. I'm showing you clearly the demon, if you don't want that word, the demon knows that the youth that he called for is not just going to suck no fever out of him, but he's going to put new life into him and her whichever one calls for the child. This is one of the reasons why you see the African mommy breastfeeding the young child, the young slave master's child, the little white child, because they understand the power of the black woman's milk. But let us return back to the black child now. In the Bible, listen good, in the Bible, you could come to this in Samuel, in the books of Samuel, and if I'm not mistaken, the Chronicles. When King David was old, they say King David was old, looking to pass on, and he was, old, weak, and he was basically bedridden as such. And not just to cheer him up, but to bring new life to David. Do you know what they did? They went and got a young virgin girl for David. I think the Bible gave her age, but because I don't want to make the mistake, but somehow I think 13 and 12 is somewhere in my mind. But even if it didn't give the age, but it was made clear that they sent for a young virgin girl for David, and they even put her in the bed to lay down with David, and they covered them up together. Now the scripture doesn't give any sort of inclination that there was any sort of sexual activity taking place between David and no little girl. In fact, the scripture makes it plain that it was because of the purity of her, the life force that was still in her, that she was in the position to pass on that energy to the great old King David. And she revived King David, a young little girl. She revived King David. She brought King David back to life as such, because she was young, she was a sheep, she was pure, beautiful. The sick world gonna think all kind of thing. But it's not that. And that is why, even when we were speaking of just a few days ago, we did the episode directly dealing with the power of sexual intercourse, because that's a next level. That's a next level altogether. So what I'm saying here now is that if David can be revived by just calling a young virgin girl to lay with him, not necessarily on any sexual level, but just to be together with her, to feel her energy, and that revived him. If we can see that the old slave master could call for the young black African child and strip that child, he or she naked, and put the sole of his feet on the child, and put the palm of his hands on the child, and draw from the energy of the child, you could imagine what's going on in the world of blood drinkers. Huh? You heard me. There are people that drink blood, What are you talking about? Let's go back to your entertainers. What, we forgot? I wasn't the one promoting this, In fact, there was a time that every time I spoke, somebody popped up. Oh, Illuminati there, Illuminati, everything was just Illuminati, to the point that I had a phrase where I referred to them as the Illuminati headhunters. But they think everything is Illuminati, not knowing that everything is Illuminati, down to what's in your fridge. That's how serious it is. But I'm saying that the innocence of the child, for these people that drink blood, the people that drink blood. When in the Bible Christ says you could drink his blood and eat his body and all of that, yes, there's a symbolism behind it. In fact, that really came from us, but it doesn't mean that at all. At all. It just means to partake in my life. partake in my spirit, partake in my mission, become one with me, take me in. Because even the god Amun, as the bull, would eat the kidneys of the king. Them is our writings. We eat the kidney of the kings. But we know nothing goes so. Which bull you know eating kidneys? That don't even make no sense. Of the king? You have any historical record of that? No. But this was written in hieroglyphic form. That's our Medu-Netta. You know, so even in the same way when Christ said, this is my blood of the new covenant, it's just an understanding, you know. But the vampires now who kidnap the religion, they happy to hear about this blood and body thing. Like, yeah, man, this sound like our menu here. You understand? So now they do have brotherhoods. They do have fraternities where them killers sit down around table and drink blood. So where they get the blood from? They ain't going to the hospital to buy that. They're very precise with the blood they want. You think it's by chance young children disappear? Give me a break. You know how many young children disappear every year, especially in the first world countries. I'm talking about, and even the third world, but I have to say first world because we think these things only happen in Africa and rah. I think they have more missing children in the United States. The children don't go missing around here. Yes, we are a small place, but you know, when they can't find a child in a few days, they find them usually shot up with some boy somewhere. But I mean, it's not no mass kidnapping taking place here. But they miss children, and I want the children listening to hear me. Even when they go out and play, be careful. They miss children daily in the US and in Canada. Sometimes it doesn't even come over the news. I mean, just a few months ago, about a year ago, there was just this string of girls just disappearing in Chicago. Just disappearing and now that just gone quiet. And some of these things that we should really stand up for, we don't stand up for. You understand? We should really stand up for these things. Children just disappearing and going missing. Remember after the earthquake, give thanks again for the 21st. There was an earthquake in Trinidad today, It says about 2 minutes long. I tell you what kind of quake that. Look out for tsunami, man. That's a real quake. But when we went to Haiti after the earthquake, that was the same time that who was it now? I don't want to say the wrong thing. I know the French were in there. I think it's them same Israeli people. They were the first to come down there and they set up a camp. And you don't know. This came over the news. Them people there taking out organs and these different things and kidnapping children from Haiti. Enough children get kidnapped from Haiti now. Cameroon, Chad. These are places that has made the news, I talking. Not no conspiracy theory, no. Conspiracy. Literally Chad, Central Africa, Nigeria. News I talking about. CNN news too. So some of us pretend like we don't know what's going on. So having a beautiful little African child, you have a gold mine there. That's what I'm saying. You have someone that, they have spies watching you that if you turn your back, they take that and gone. That's how serious the thing is. It's not a laughing matter. And I'm not talking of no old time story. I'm talking about what is going on right now. So yes, they did find the book in the houses of the murderers, the step murderers. And they did find also the same sort of assault weapons that the author of the book said to use on your children. And it's obvious that there's this religious cult-like energy surrounding the death and the murder of these African beautiful children, and they're all adopted. So now the big superstars, you may not find them killing the children, you know, but they have different layers to this, man. There are different layers to this. It's like cocaine. There are some people that sniff coke and they just drop in the gutter right away. And then they have some big people in some jacket and tie. Sometimes you see them on the television acting too diplomatic. Well, you know, we're gonna fix the sidewalks tomorrow, and they're full of cocaine right there talking to you. So some people, they can handle it and some can't handle it. You know, because I could imagine when they murdered their little African children, I'm sure there were others who adopted African children that were saying, oh my, they couldn't handle it. They should have just left them in Africa. Because look, me and you, Bill, we have 3 African niggas in there. Shh, don't make them hear you. Oh, they're sleeping already, they know. And we treat them good, of course, not as good as the rest of our little children. We don't treat them as good as the rest of the Brady Bunch, but we treat them better than they would have been treated in Africa. Well, that's true, but we know why we're doing it. Of course, we're getting the benefits, and they know what the benefits are. You understand? So in many of these cases, these children have been sacrificed unto some spooky, invisible, racist, white supremacist God. Straight up, believe it or not. And I don't think there's anybody right now, especially today in this time, that would try to say white supremacy doesn't exist. When it's obvious on every news channel, whether they for the alt-right or whatever, they're still telling you white supremacy is very strong today, now more than ever. I disagree with that. Now more than ever in the United States of America. And everything is Trump and this and Trump is the example for white supremacy. Man, so what happened to George Bush and Bill Clinton and Ronald Reagan? You know, I don't get caught up in that, you know. I know exactly what's going on. I don't get caught up and go with the flow. You know, the white supremacy thing has been there. It never went to sleep. And these are the reasons why. These things that we're highlighting proves to you that. So these young children, again, are just sacrificed. Some of their bloods, they drink their blood. Whether you like it or not, them people eat their organs. We feed them is mad people out there. They're people that drink blood. And not any old blood. They're getting the fresh blood from a virgin. That's straight off. That is what's going on. If you think I'm lying, you go to lunch with any of them. Waiter, I'm going to have a steak. Make it medium rare. Medium rare. You know, rare meat raw. Kill the animal and throw it on the table. That's rare. Cook mean you cook. Medium rare means it's halfway between cook and raw. You still see the blood dripping out. Yeah, I mean medium rare, and some of us, we follow that. I want my steak medium rare too. Give me a break. So who taught you to operate like that? So that's why on their hot dog and the hamburger they still put blood. Huh? They call it ketchup, but it's imitation blood. In fact, I wouldn't doubt that blood is in some of them ketchup there. Yeah, they're trying to catch up to the blood. You understand? A bit behind the blood, so they wanted medium rare and blood. They're into the blood. And the life of the soul is in the blood. So if they could get some fresh, innocent blood to drink from some innocent children, that would do them good. It would go perfectly in alignment of the fraternal order. 323, skulls and bones. Come on, don't play around. And that is why you may not see the movie stars murdering their children. And obviously, they're too big to be doing that. But they adapt as well, maybe not to really go in accordance to the book written by Pearl. But they have books written by Aleister Crowley, and books written by Manly P. Hall, and books written by some other people, and they're following the instructions in their books, and you'll be surprised that their instructions encourages them to get some black, chi-filled, energy-filled babies around you. Whether to just keep you company, whether for you to have sexual intercourse with them, because a lot of these girls, a lot of these Ethiopian girls that you see these people go and take from Africa. I mean, listen, man, before we lock this down, let's just make this real, brother. I don't know what kind of world we think we're living in. This is a sick, disgusting world. They have freaks. From freaks to, don't you see how they promote their freakism and their gayism and their homosexuality? There are places now they're trying to legalize bestiality, where you can lay down and have sex with an animal. This is what they're pushing right now, and everyone, no matter your sexual orientation, what kind of talk is that? Who invent them things there? No matter your sexual orientation. Go and tell God that, no man. That's what Sodom and Gomorrah was trying, you know, their own sexual orientation, and they get burned flat to the ground. You understand? So with this kind of wicked world, you want to tell me you don't believe that an individual, a Caucasian with enough money, would not fly to Africa and buy 2 African girls and refer to it as adoption and carry them home and rape them? You don't believe that? I mean, if they can kill them, I mean, I'm sure they can rape them. If they can murder them, I'm sure they can rape them. Whether it be boys or girls, young virgins, so they can suck their energy out of them too. This is vampire ritual taking place here. You ain't gonna hear this on the news. They can't go to these depths because we're too nice and we pretend we don't see how deadly our surroundings are. But as long as this brother here is speaking, I'm going to expose all these things to the people that want to hear. I'm not trying to be no hero. I ain't trying to put myself on the firing line. I ain't going on no firing line, because I firing too. I don't have the time to go on the line. I'm looking for who on the line to take them out. That's my point. Everybody knows, you know, that my joy is to deal with the mystics. Everybody know I like to unravel the mysteries. That is my main thing. My main thing is not geopolitics. My main thing is not even activism. My main thing is unraveling the heavens and unraveling the movements of the stars. I sit on that. You know me. You know that's my delight. But these situations here, nobody really talking about them. So I have to jump up and talk about them. And the few that may speak about them, can we go to the depths of it? Can we, you know, because if you do an interview with CNN and Fox, how many of us are going to say, hey, this is devil worshiping, man. This is not just, you know, some people that lost their mind and beat their daughter to death. Beat which daughter to death? That's not their daughter. That's not their daughter. She don't mean nothing to them. And give thanks that the Ethiopian government has taken that step to stop selling out their children. Take care of your children. Take care of your orphans, man. Take care of the children that even their mothers and fathers abandoned them. Let us find a way to take care of them. That's a soul. Every person is important. That's a precious soul. When we lose one of them, we don't even know who we lost. We will lose some. Imagine these same superstars that we talk about, that some of us love so much. Any one of them could have died at birth, and then you would have never heard of them. You would have never heard of Muhammad Ali. You'd have never heard of giving somebody the same Michael Jackson if they died at birth. Look at how many children die at a young age. We don't even know who they were. Hannah that they killed there, we never know. We cannot say who she would have become. And we leave it in the hands of our sworn enemy, Ras, to just adopt our children and take them out. And that is still happening. Yeah, Ethiopian banned them, but they still can get them from Chad. They still can get them from Nigeria. They still can get them from somewhere else. And it's not just Africans too. Enough Indians going through the same situation. People from India I'm talking about. Because, you know, the caste system in India, dread. You know, so it's the same pressure where sometimes the mothers and fathers are so happy. Oh, somebody's gonna adopt our little baby boy. They don't have 4 children. They want to, give them a better life. Carry them to America. Introduce them to the Statue of Liberty so they can go to college and become this and that and get a degree, and maybe they can become a senator, not knowing that the killers that came and bought them, raping them silly over there. And sooner or later you're going to hear about them dead on the news. And that is happening more than it is being reported. And it all goes back to some satanic cult masquerading as religion, with some old freaky slavery mentality following it. You see?
In Africa, there are some children that eat human body parts.
Pardon me, say that again?
There are children that eat human body parts in Africa. Just young children. They see a bottle of blood, they get juice, just drink it. Where do you think they get this Dracula business?
The Liberian situation was well documented as well. The tribal war during the time of the civil war in Liberia. I think Liberia more than any other African country. In fact, I think it's Liberia alone I really hear about that cannibalism during war, where there was this whole thing about eating the parts and organs of the enemy that you put down. I'm talking black and black, I'm talking black and black, not white and black, black and black. This is in Liberia, you understand? But I would always say too, that a lot of things that we do, even homosexuality and these different things, history proves that we are not known for this. Some people, they feel they shouldn't say this, but this is reality. This is how you show people who you really are. We have the oldest history, the oldest civilization, but yet still this is not something that we have practiced at all. No homosexuality. In fact, I am sure if you go 200 years into the past, you ain't gonna find one black person that is no faggot. 200 years. 200 years, I said. 200 years into the past. And if you find one or two, maybe it's a handful, but that don't count when you compare it to today. Today it's so dread, they don't even know who's doing it. And they don't have to move. Fred don't have to move like Frederica for you to say they're gay. Some of them act as if they're Mr. Universe and they're still gay. You see what I'm saying? So where did that come from? How did black people become gay when we were never gay just 200 years ago? That's interesting. Anything 200 years ago or 300 years ago, more than likely it came with the enslavement of our people. Because what I'm saying, in the history of even Europe, you actually see homosexuality painted on walls of catacombs. And according to the writings, these people are high dignitaries of the country, high dignitaries of the land, enjoying a cool casual orgy. All fellas in a man. All fellas. You see this in Rome and different parts of Europe. And some of these drawings are 1,500 years old to 2,000 years old. So I'm just saying that when you observe this, it is obvious that we have this not in our culture. Yes, I would agree that when you look at some of our comedic art, we were known for exposing our sexual organs. You see Mem with his penis in his hand, you never see that? The god Mem with his penis in his hand, but where the penis coming from, symbolically out of the belly button. And some different things you see on the comedic walls, really, that if you're not skilled, you might wonder what you're really seeing. But that's not literal, but it's well known. When you see them banging on the walls in Europe, that's literally banging on the walls. So it was a part of their culture. Bestiality was a part of their culture. So I'm saying that us now, as Africans, us adapting that culture is just that. It is a culture that we have adapted. So when we've been blamed to be cannibals and all of that, even if you can point out a point in history like that same Liberian War where we did such things, who taught us to do that? You know, who taught us to act like that? We never even had the word for rape in our vocab. We never raped nobody. We don't even know what you're talking about. Now rape is used as a weapon of war. Because you must remember that even our guerrilla soldiers, they were trained by somebody. Rape is used as a weapon of war. So this is a very serious thing, my brothers and sisters. In general, that we have to clarify amongst us. We as a people trying to move forward. And we as a world trying to move forward. You understand? We as humanity trying to move forward. So if we can bring these things to the forefront and speak honestly about them, that's me. You know, I try my utmost best to speak honestly about the situation. My utmost best. I try not to sound partial in any way. I try to come straight down the middle. Not because it's a situation upon even black people, you know, because they have many situations where we as black people doing our own people some dread ways, and all of that need to be highlighted too. In fact, I think them is some of the first things we have to clarify amongst ourselves. And yet still, we can't turn a blind eye and pretend we don't see where we got this sort of attitude and behavior from as well. So we have a lot of work to do, man. Our people, that's why we do these programs. That's why we put them on the internet sometimes too, because it's about getting a message out, seeing if we can touch a soul, seeing if we can nourish a spirit, see if we can, invest in the mentality of someone for them to look, towards a better future for us, seeing if we can work together economically, seeing if we can counsel each other, adding the value, more value to even the people that take time to listen to us, because that's our motto, King and Princess. I mean, our mission is to add value to the lives of those that listen to us. King Emmanuel VII, Dunya God, Jah, Rastafari. So give thanks, I know I said a lot, but it's a touching subject. You know what I mean? Look at the beautiful little Hannah, man. They just murder off the girl. What's wrong with them people there, you see? And we don't really, has there been an outpour of anger from us for this? And all the other African children that they murder off? This is 2011. Some people may say, so what became of their parents and that parents? I don't follow up them things. I ain't following up that. That maybe somebody else can follow it up. I'm not saying you shouldn't follow it up, Somebody should, but that ain't my job. That's not my job. That's somebody else's job. We need to know our jobs. There are too many things happening to our people, man. Too many things. In the West and in the African country. Too many things going on. We really need to, geopolitically, all of our leaders, almost all of them seem to be sellouts. All of our leaders. Is there a leader amongst us that we can call in this world to say, well, yeah, he is a good leader? I mean, politically. Barack Obama? Gaddafi died under Barack Obama, man. Oh, no, it was Hillary Clinton. Yeah, try to pass the buck, brother. I said Gaddafi died under Barack Obama. An extra $1 million went on the head. $1 million bounty went on the head of Assata Shakur under Barack Obama. So, I mean, what you telling me? We have to do a program about Assata Shakur very soon, eh? Maybe even tomorrow, depending on the spirit. We might work on that one day. You understand what I'm saying? So who's the leader? Robert Mugabe. I always screw for the fact that Mengistu in Zimbabwe, but outside of that, Robert Mugabe, he to me was the only leader we could look and say, yeah man, that's a real man there working for us. Is there anybody around us like Thomas Sankara? Anybody? Is there anybody around us like Maurice Bishop? Anybody? Is there anybody around us right now as a leader that we can compare to? Who else leaders? See, there's so few. Well, Idi Amin, but I just purposely kept out the the heavyweights out of this. I mean, Haile Selassie. I mean, we can go on, but I didn't want to call the heavyweights. I just was trying to keep it temperate just for conversation's sake. But we ain't got no leader amongst us. Look, Kofi Annan just passed on. You know what I mean? You know, we don't want to talk and this, talk about the dead. Give thanks to Kofi Annan still. But this is not ceremony, man. This is reality. Kofi Annan was the head of the United Nations. The UN. Kofi Annan received many letters, not just from I as the EABIC, but other organizations dealing with Pan-Africanism and reparation and all of this. What did Kofi Annan do for us? If Thomas Sankara was the head of the UN, I could imagine what he would have done. If Patrice Lumumba was the head of the UN, I could imagine what he would have done. You understand? Put Julius Malema at the head of the UN and see what he would do. You understand what I'm saying? It's very important for us to consider all these little things. We don't have no African leader today. When I say African, I mean even the Caribbean leaders. All of them from top to bottom, right here too. Now because they give you like 4 trees to plant in a yard, give thanks, they don't know, we applaud that and we made it plain, but that ain't good enough. That ain't the struggle. No man. And 4 trees, even that struggle still ain't reached nowhere. 4 trees, what are you talking about? That's not the struggle. That is not the struggle. Who is the African leader? Yes, we have strong black African leaders. And when I say Africa again, whether you're born in Africa or not, I'm talking black people. We have strong black people amongst us, but how many of us are in political office? All the presidents and prime ministers and governor generals, which one of them are conscious enough to do something that is obvious to the rest of the world for the benefit of us? None of them. Call the name, let me hear, no? Sure. Yes, I turn it over to the master of ceremonies.
Blessed love, give thanks for all information and inspiration by the Honorable Priest Isaac. This has been a wonderful time in this mystic vibration. Blessed love. If you know your Bible and you do not know your history, the knowledge of your Bible will become a mystery.
And remember, it takes some real life to realize the real lives that are amongst us.
Holy Manuel, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari.
Subscribe to the Mystic Vibrations Shock of the Hour program today and never miss another episode. The Shock of the Hour is a Radio Anu exclusive program produced every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. By now, I am sure that you are aware that all our programs are packed with information, inspiration, mystic vibrations, as well as hot button topics. Every evening we enter into a different dimension, even if it is a part 2 of the previous program, whether it's history or mystery, biology or philosophy, domestic affairs or the locks of your hair. The mystic vibration is sure to bring something new and interesting to the table every evening. So never miss another episode again. Subscribe to the Shock of the Hour now. And don't forget your key Swahili word of the day and your daily scientific fact. So, to subscribe, give us an email, priestisaac27@gmail.com, or call or WhatsApp us today. Area code 1268-728-3162. The Shock of the Hour. Never miss another program. And a special note to all our new subscribers. All our new subscribers will receive a special copy of the DVD documentary, full length, the night of the Black Tiger, the divinity of Marcus Messiah God.